7 men are trapped inside a prison surrounded by high walls. As long as everyone escapes within 2.5 hours, they can win a prize of 100,000. But this challenge is basically hell mode. The walls are 10 meters high and covered with anti-escape facilities. On top of that, each person must use a different escape route. One small mistake and the entire mission fails. The group walks along the wall while observing. Bearded guy notices that a window and the drainage pipe above it might be a possible breakthrough. Just as he starts testing it, Blackie on the other side starts climbing first. The height this time is unprecedented. For normal people it is almost impossible. But Blackie, who has trained parkour for 2.5 years, still chooses to face the challenge head-on. Luckily the prison wall is not smooth concrete. The brick gaps barely work as handholds. The only real obstacle is the barbed wire at the top. They thought a detour would be needed, but Blackie goes straight through. He pries open the barbed wire with his bare hands, forcibly tearing a passage open. In just 2 minutes, he successfully escapes, becoming the first to clear the challenge. The second to go is a Chang. His chosen route has more support points, but requires constant body adjustments. Fortunately, the area has long lost power. The wires and electrical boxes actually become useful. With full body coordination, a Chang reaches the top of a pillar, then moves sideways and steadily climbs over the wall, becoming the second person to succeed. Bearded guy decides to challenge a high difficulty move. He wants to escape using the overhead water pipe, but jumping alone is not enough, so he activates human launcher mode. With the help of teammates, he is launched toward a thin pipe 6 meters up. This move has extremely high timing and coordination requirements, and he must grab a pipe only a few centimeters thick with his fingers in midair. After multiple attempts, Bearded guy finally catches the perfect timing, successfully climbs onto the pipe, and smoothly gets over the wall. Next up is Parker. Compared to flashy routes, he chooses the most straightforward climbing method. A brick gap, a plant growing from the wall, both become footholds. The 10-meter wall is climbed by him as if it were flat ground. In the end, he steps on a wall hole, hooks the edge with one hand, and completes an extremely difficult route. With everyone performing so well, the pressure instantly hits Chubby, who weighs 200. As the brains of the group, he finds a water pipe wrapped in sheet metal, but the metal edges are sharp and can easily cut skin. Chubby makes a quick decision, takes off his shoes, and uses his socks as gloves to protect his hands. Lifted by 2 teammates, he jumps off their shoulders, barely managing to grab the metal edge. With the socks providing cushioning, the climb becomes much smoother. He eventually climbs all the way up the pipe, successfully reaching the top, which also means the hardest challenge has been completely conquered. The pressure on the remaining 2 drops sharply. Big White chooses a corner wall route. One strong kick jump, he grabs a wall hole, then smoothly grabs onto a camera bracket. In less than 1 minute, he successfully climbs over, setting a new fastest record. Only a Cohen is left. The remaining routes are extremely limited. Even worse, the brick wall in front of him is clearly loose. He can only place his hope on the electrical box. Luckily, it is sturdy and reliable, with no issue supporting weight. A Cohen steps onto the electrical box, hugs the light pole and climbs upward. He still has to pass through barbed wire along the way. In the end, at the cost of torn pants, he successfully escapes to the safe zone. At this point, all 7 men take 130 minutes and escape successfully, claiming the prize. If you get a chance to build an ecosystem from a god's perspective, build a tiny natural system with a fish tank, maintain species balance and biodiversity, make the water area thrive in over 300 days. This is your first day building the small world. Place wooden stakes and rocks in the water to shape the basic terrain. Lay the base and transplant aquatic plants. Pour life-sustaining water into the tank. The first residents are snails attached to aquatic plants. They keep cleaning debris in the tank. Eat organic matter and clean every corner of the tank. This place has enough food and a safe environment, but the ecological chain has just been built. On the 6th day, a layer of floating oil film appears on the water surface. This is a common aquatic problem. Snails cannot deal with such impurities. You introduce a new species, cherry shrimp. Cherry shrimp are omnivorous and can clean the surface oil film. Add small freshwater clams to filter water impurities. Promote material circulation in the tank. New problems appear a few days later. Duckweed begins to reproduce rapidly and massively. Excessive coverage damages water quality and disrupts the ecosystem. The African clawed frog you will add later needs to surface regularly to breathe. You have to remove the excess duckweed. Before long, freshwater clams in the tank are preyed on by other creatures. Investigation rules out snails and cherry shrimp. An unknown invader appears in the tank. You put chicken as bait to find the culprit. The bait is only eaten by other creatures. The invader is very cautious. You wait for 3 days and lock the culprit. The invader is a leech. You remove the leech from the tank in time. The water area returns to peace and stability. All creatures survive normally. The mother cherry shrimp gets pregnant successfully, carrying unhatched eggs on her abdomen. The creature population in the tank will expand soon. You supplement microorganisms to strengthen the ecological foundation. Add water to hatch brine shrimp eggs. Breed brine shrimp in a separate container. A large number of tiny lives hatch after a few days. Algae grow in the breeding container at the same time. You add both into the main tank. Microorganisms grow excessively 2.5 weeks later. Signs of ecological imbalance show up. You use the prepared regulation plan. Introduce top predators in the food chain. Add the first ruby fish to control algae. Put in a female fish to keep it benefit from being alone. The female fish always stays away from the male. You put in tube effects as their food, hoping the two can coexist peacefully. A new member Thai microcrab joins the tank a few days later. This crab is omnivorous and not good at active hunting. It mainly feeds on residual organic matter in the tank. On the 200th day of building the ecological tank, you put in boiled broccoli to provide food for all creatures in the tank. A few snails eat first. More and more creatures gather to feed. A hidden crisis comes along. Assassin snails enter the tank. They feed on other small snails. The dense snail group becomes their prey. Assassin snails move slowly, but they can lock prey by smell. Launch predatory attacks. Small snails are sucked up in a short time. Only empty shells are left. On the 300th day, aquatic plants in the tank grow luxuriantly and messily. You trim the landscape to make room for new creatures. Collect natural materials, boil them for disinfection and rearrange. The small world takes on a brand new look after trimming. Problems remain to be solved before adding the clawed frog. The number of tube effects has grown out of control. Original fish cannot control the number effectively. You assign the cleaning task. This is the world's largest hammer, weighing 12 tons. When it drops from the height of a 10-story building, what kind of object could possibly withstand such a blow? Today, three brothers prepared a variety of items. First up was an enormous block of ice, used to test just how powerful the hammer really is. With a single strike, the ice was smashed directly into crushed ice. The scene was honestly beautiful to watch. Next day, Cohen brought over a dozen spray paint cans, neatly lined up in formation, ready to receive the judgment of the giant hammer. Then Jeannie dragged in an old tree stump. It was said to be made of Australian hardwood. Could it survive one hit? This strike caused collateral damage to the viewers at home, and even shattered the camera itself. Luckily, the footage that survived was still incredibly spectacular. De Zhuang then stated, "If you want to challenge a hammer, you have to use nails. So let us see how that turns out." Unexpectedly, the angle was slightly off, and the hit went crooked. Now pulling the nail out became the real problem. Next up was a solid Lego cube. Good grief, one hit was all it took, and the Lego was instantly flattened. Jimmy prepared a highly elastic car tire to see if it could withstand the power of the massive hammer. With one strike, Jimmy's tire was gone in an instant, but the elasticity of the tire did manage to absorb some impact, so they switched to something even bouncier, a basketball. A Cohen deliberately placed 7 balls together, hoping to increase the overall strength, but in the face of absolute power, the basketballs had no choice but to be smashed back to their original form. When it comes to the hardest ball, that title belongs to the bowling ball. Unfortunately, it shattered directly into fragments. The next item to appear was a wooden barrel. It looked like it would never survive a hit, but once filled with liquid, it delivered an impressive visual spectacle. The next tool was an ATM machine. A Cohen had never managed to open it before, so this was the perfect chance to try brute force. With one strike, the solid ATM was instantly destroyed. So what if they switched to a safe? What would the result be? It seemed that even a safe could be forcibly opened. The next set of items was 6 pieces of bulletproof glass. The result was still complete destruction. Next up was a block of obsidian. In games, it is known for having extremely high durability. So how would it perform in real life? Unexpectedly, real-world obsidian was extremely fragile and instantly shattered into debris. At this moment, an onlooker stepped forward, claiming he had something that could take the hit. It turned out to be a massive lock. Judging by its craftsmanship and weight, it was clearly very solid, so they moved straight into real-world testing. It seemed this lock really had some substance. It did not completely shatter, but it still suffered very serious damage. And the next item to appear was truly heavyweight, a Mandela alloy sphere. Was its hardness really as invincible as the legends claimed? Good grief, this time the unstoppable hammer actually lost. The alloy ball suffered no damage at all. Instead, it left dents in both the base and the hammerhead. The hammer undefeated legend was finally broken. So among the items you own, what do you think could withstand its full power strike?